Hello, I'm Chris Henry, the EAA Aviation Museum Manager, and we're going to discuss some of our pioneers of the space program, starting with Frank Borman. Frank Borman was in the second wave of astronauts and flew both Gemini and Apollo missions. So as we walk through the Gemini portion of the Borman exhibit, this case displays some of the artifacts from that mission. Gemini 7 was a 2-week endurance flight, including a rendezvous with Gemini 6, where they showed that they could fly in formation, or that at that time it was called station keeping, and then continued that flight. Again, 2 weeks in space, strapped down to your seat in something about the size of the front 2 seats of a modern car. The most powerful artifact we have from that mission is Frank's Gemini 7 helmet that actually flew up there with him. This is the white helmet here. Next to it, the silver helmet, that is from the T-38 aircraft that they would fly at NASA. And in front of it's a photo that NASA took, an actual portrait of the crew. And those are the exact helmets, and what you're looking at, one of them right there that's in the photo. There's a hard helmet from when he would go down to the launch pads and see them building the rocket, things like that. And then, of course, on each side, sort of the bookends, are the manuals for the spacecraft. Just outside the case, we actually do have a flag and a mission patch that were actually on Frank's uniform on the mission. And you can see they're kind of weathered or dirty a little bit, and that's from the flight. So we're very fortunate to have this sort of time capsule piece of artifact case here to highlight Gemini. So we're standing in the Apollo 8 area of the Borman exhibit, and Apollo 8 is arguably one of the most historic space missions ever undertaken. When Frank agreed to take the Apollo 8 mission, Deke Slayton actually told him he had a 1 in 3 chance of coming back. The reason it was such a dangerous mission is there were a lot of firsts. First time we're going to leave low Earth orbit. First time we're going to fly the Saturn V with a full crew. And first time we're going to park in lunar orbit. These were all big firsts. Some of the artifacts that we are lucky enough to have here are a piece of the beta cloth with the Apollo 8 mission patch on it. This was a test that they were doing on the Apollo 8 mission to test out a new material, the beta cloth, that they would use on future flights. Arguably, one of the most important artifacts we have here is this data. It's basically a diary that Frank had on his knee board flying the mission. And there are different moments with timestamps that he had to make entries. And on one of the line items, it says in here, go for TLI, that's translunar injection. What that's saying is, for the first time, mankind is leaving low Earth orbit. We're leaving our home planet as we know, and we're going somewhere else. Truly a remarkable historic moment captured in that diary. And also we have an American flag. This American flag, along with a few other flags from different states, flew under Frank's seat on Apollo 8. And of course, it's mounted on an area that you're looking at, the Earthrise photo, arguably one of the most important space photos ever taken, taken by Bill Anders on the Apollo 8 mission. One of the more special things to know about Apollo 8 is the flight took place in 1968, which is a very rough time in American history. A lot of people with different beliefs sort of arguing. But Apollo 8 was this one moment where the entire country was able to rally behind these 3 people traveling to the moon. These are really captured great in the telegrams that were sent into NASA, and luckily saved. They were given to Frank, but luckily Susan Borman, his wife, saved them. And we have scans of them here that are on display. The most powerful one simply says, "You saved 1968." Susan Borman is very important to talk about in this exhibit as well, because Frank described Susan as the best thing that ever happened to him. It wasn't flying a certain mission, it wasn't going to the moon, it was finding the correct person to become his wife. We're very thankful for Frank and Susan Borman for all the work they did to preserve the history of the space program and Frank's story and sharing it here with us. We hope that while you're here enjoying the air show, you come out and enjoy the museum as well.